I just got back from WordCamp US 2025 in Portland, and I wanted to share some of my insights from that conference. Now, WordCamp is a gathering of the WordPress community, and that's a very vast community. Everybody from people who contribute and work on core WordPress to plugin and theme developers to solutions providers like hosting companies, and also agencies like myself that use WordPress as a solution for their clients. Now, WordPress powers over 40% of the websites on the internet. So it is a huge part of the web as we know it. And so I wanted to attend WordCamp because it'd been a very long time since I've attended before. It was over 10 years ago. And I am very immersed in WordPress. All of my clients' websites are WordPress websites. I produce some educational tools for WordPress and also put out some content on how to use plugins and different things to accomplish goals using WordPress. So I wanted to jump back into the community and become a part of the community in person because most of the time we spend behind screens working on all of these things. And it's great to get out from behind the screens and connect with each other in person. So WordCamp was really neat. There were some talks that I was interested in attending. I wanted to share a little bit about those as kind of a recap. There's definitely some insights that I pulled away. But the number one thing was just being a part of that community again and meeting other people and interacting with other people that have similarities in experience and also differences when it comes to this tool that we use to publish on the web. So first of all, one of the talks I was excited to see was from Danny Sullivan on the evolution of search. And he talked about search in general, where it kind of started, where it's gone. I talk a lot about SEO and search engine optimization. That's been a huge part of my business model here is helping websites get seen in search so that they can be found by people who are looking for solutions to their problems. And a lot of things are changing, especially with AI overviews and AI mode in search. I've talked about that in a lot of other videos. So it was really neat to hear Danny talk about that. Danny is the director of search at Google. He's been with Google for, I think, about the last 7 years or so. But prior to that, he ran Search Engine Land and the SMX conferences. I attended an SMX conference earlier this year and did a recap on that and shared my thoughts. So I have familiarity with Danny because of his time with Search Engine Land and SMX. And so it was really exciting for me to see him talk and hear from him, being that he has been with Google for the last 7 or so years. So the main takeaways that I had from his talk is that yes, search is changing. Things are going to continuously change. Right now, AI is becoming a big part of search and people are interacting with the search engines in a different way, gaining more information before they actually visit a website. And at first, it seems kind of scary because yeah, the search engines are answering a lot more questions. But when the search engines hand somebody off to a website, maybe through some AI overviews, maybe even some AI conversations, and then somebody does eventually end up going to a website, that person is further through the buying cycle than they were before, or the decision-making cycle. And I've talked about this in other videos as well. We used to, as web designers or SEOs or whatever, had to build websites to appease the search engines. We didn't want to be so robotic that when a person came to the website that it seemed weird, but our websites were definitely built to rank in the search engines, and hopefully in doing that still was appealing to an individual who was coming to the website looking for a solution. With the changes in AI and everything, being more human is becoming more important. The AI tools want information that is written for humans, not written for machines. And so what that means is that those of us that are building websites and building content for websites, we can step back and say, okay, we don't need to appease the search engine so much anymore. We need to write content and speak through our websites as if we're speaking to real people accomplishing real solutions to problems and portraying that through the website. And so the thing that Danny kept coming back to is just write for humans. And I've heard this said before. It wasn't the first time that I've heard this, that we need to write as if we're writing for humans that are consuming this information, because that's the type of conversations that AI is trying to have with people and trying to understand what they want and providing them with insight. And so we need to speak in that way And that means maybe a little bit of a paradigm shift in our mindset on how we were producing content for websites, because it's different. It might not be different for typical copywriter, somebody who's used to writing that type of information, but somebody who's been thinking about writing to rank a website in search engines. There's a little bit of a mind shift change, and that's something that we need to jump on right away, because the AI tools are thinking differently than the search engines, and the search engines now are using those AI tools for reasoning and understanding. And it's not so much about how many times a keyword shows up or how many times different things are said on the website. Is that information something that a real person is looking for and trying to understand? So while it could really easily seem like there wasn't much said in what Danny had to say, and honestly, this is a little side note because I used to go to the SMX conferences and watch Danny hold interviews with people from Google, and he was always pressing them on, tell us what to do, tell us what works, blah, blah, blah. And Google was always really cryptic in what they had to say. So it's kind of fun to see Danny like dance around the same topics because he's with Google now and perhaps has to be a little bit cryptic in what he has to say. But ultimately, we're working in a different mindset now than we used to be. Like I said, we're not trying to appease the search engines. The search engines are smart enough now that we don't need to give X amount of keywords or X amount of location-specific pages or different things like that. We just need to speak to a person correctly, like as if we were speaking to a customer. And the AI tools and the search engines, with the intelligence that they have now, are much more able to understand what it is that we're getting across. And ultimately, in us speaking that way through our websites, we're communicating better with our customer, providing that customer with a better overall experience anyways. So another talk that I attended was on building at scale, lessons from enterprise WordPress management. And while I don't manage an enterprise collection of WordPress websites, what I wanted to take away from this talk was how to manage a lot of different websites. This particular speaker was talking about how to manage a lot of different websites within one organization, which these websites were all the same with a lot of similarities, just with text differences. And so there were little things here and there to learn. I was definitely reminded of the importance of having systems in place, and I'm a very systems-driven guy. If I can organize things and have a process put in place, it makes it very easy for me to repeat and have the same outcome. And it's when I don't have a system in place that I'm not able to do something repetitiously and have the same intended outcome. So from that talk, I took away the concept of building systems that are reusable. Not all of my clients are the same. In fact, pretty much every single one of them is different. And so there are little bits of a system that I have to customize to meet their needs. But if I can create systems that I can reuse and just restructure slightly for each of my clients' needs, then I'm able to produce the same quality results and have the same quality outcomes every single time. And so that was an interesting talk. Even though I couldn't relate it 100% to exactly what I do, I was able to take away a little bit about what this guy within his company is doing to get those types of results and replicate it every single time. The third presentation was on developing plugins using AI. I'm super interested in the idea and concept of using AI tools to develop software, plugins, or solutions that are useful. Like, I come from a development background. I started out in WordPress developing. Back when I started in WordPress, if you wanted something, you had to code it. There wasn't nearly the amount of things available as there is today. And so my coding skills have definitely not kept up with the times. I just simply haven't had the time to invest in maintaining the level of knowledge that's required these days. So with these AI tools being able to develop solutions like this, I've been really interested in seeing how this works. And so this particular speaker developed a WordPress plugin, albeit a very simple one, but a working WordPress plugin within 30 minutes using AI tools. So it was really interesting to see him do that and listen to his process and his thought process of how to get these AI tools to develop something and not develop something that's a mess, but actually develop something that's going to work, that's going to be secure, and that's going to solve a problem. And it is a pretty amazing world that we live in, where we could subscribe to a tool for $20 a month and essentially have a junior developer working on a project for us to the point where we have something working that we could actually deploy. It's pretty cool. Now, these tools aren't perfect, and this speaker talked a lot about that. You can't simply type into AI, I want this software, boom, do it. You have to be able to identify things that the AI tool tool might have missed. And so the AI tools aren't advanced enough yet to be able to completely replace developers. Like, you still have to be able to think like a developer. You still have to know what to expect and be able to test and vet what the AI tool is producing. But as an agency owner that works with a lot of different clients that have a lot of unique and different needs, it's really neat to know that if I did need to develop something that was uniquely specific for an individual client, that I potentially could produce that utilizing AI tools. There was a talk on understanding AI's impact on WordPress, and that was an opening keynote on Friday morning. And the speaker, John Maeda, was really an interesting guy. He talked a lot about AI and kind of breaking down a lot of the fears that many people have with AI and understanding what AI is doing and how to interact with AI, and kind of bridging that world between humans versus computers and all of that stuff. So it was really interesting to see him kind of go through the evolution of AI in its early and simplistic form and how it's advancing and coming alongside of us as an agent to help us with more complex tasks. Maeda emphasized the importance of critical thinking in the age of AI. One thing that he said that stuck out to me is that every image has always been some sort of distortion of reality. And he shared a lot of examples, especially of images and video clips, and how we see them and how we understand them, and how there's a disconnect there in how we see and perceive things. And it's certainly a reminder to maintain some skepticism and human judgment, especially as we grapple with things like deepfakes and AI-generated content. Another talk I attended was on the topic of building products for WordPress. And as someone who provides solutions for WordPress, I was interested to see what these two speakers had to say, because WordPress is kind of a convoluted marketplace. There are plugins and themes for pretty much everything, and it's almost impossible to know which one's the best and is going to have the longevity to be around and be supported for a while. So the speakers outlined 3 approaches to product success. Number 1 is to create a new category, which basically means try to solve a problem that somebody else hasn't solved yet. There's the easy road, which is to create a slightly different version of something that already exists. That's not solving a new problem. It might be solving a micro problem within something that already exists. But what really sticks out is when somebody's able to clearly identify a new problem and create a new solution for it. That's true pioneering of unexplored territory. Number 2 is to fill a market gap, which is addressing unmet needs within a specific category. So this might be one that already exists, but a plugin that's been around for a while, a solution that's been around for a while, but things have evolved and this particular plugin or theme has not filled the needs there. And so there is an opportunity to step in and fill that gap that now exists. And we see that in a lot of industry, especially in technology, as technology disrupts other industry and fills gaps that now exist because of innovation. And though it can seem hard to identify what that is, it means being a true practitioner within your industry so that you know it well enough to be able to identify where those gaps are. And number 3 is to be able to innovate within already crowded markets. And the way to do that is to serve existing needs better. One of the things that I know differentiates us at Hill Media Group from a lot of other agencies is that we're really good at supporting our clients ongoing when there are needs. And so when my clients come to me and say, I need changes made on the website, we get those changes done as quickly as possible. Sure, I haven't always been perfect at that. I've been learning and growing too as a business owner. But most other agencies are interested in building new websites, those larger ticket things, and then not necessarily being there to support their clients ongoing. Whereas I want to build less websites, I want to support my clients so that their businesses thrive and they're getting the most out of their website. And as a business owner myself, I understand that the staying power of my business is going to come in the sustainability of my efforts. If I am just sprinting every now and then, big sprint with long gaps of nothing in between, my business is going to be stagnant. But if I'm thinking about my business as a journey that I'm on, as maybe more like a marathon, then I'm thinking about pacing. I'm thinking about how to take care of the needs of my business, take care of the needs of my customers, so that I can continue on that path and finish the race strong. A quote that I wrote down that stuck out to me is, marketing is just a daily practice. It's what you have to be doing all the time. It's very easy as businesses to think about marketing as something that we ramp up when there's a need, But if we're not doing it all the time, then we're out of practice. And when we're out of practice, we don't know how to talk to our customers. We don't know what our customers need. And rather than being effective with our marketing efforts, we're struggling to catch up to our customers who might already be seeking things elsewhere. A big surprise to me was a talk given by somebody at Disney. I didn't realize it, but Disney has a lot of websites that are powered by WordPress. And a lot of those websites are interactive and give an experience that people would expect from Disney. Especially when it comes to Disney parks, very interactive when you're at Disney, everything's very immersive, and their websites are also that way as well. And so this was more of a design and user experience type of talk, but it was very interesting to see how Disney is actually making their websites an interactive and immersive arm of the experience that people would have when they're in the park. The presentation definitely challenged me, and I think it challenged others to think beyond just a functional website and create an experience that evokes emotion and engagement. So the heart of WordCamp itself is community building. WordCamp is completely volunteer organized, which I didn't completely remember or was just aware of how many volunteers came together to make WordCamp happen. Now, I decided to be one of the volunteers. I was on their photography team. So I was able to work with some other photographers to capture photos and video clips and different things. But it not only gave me something else to do while I was at the conference, but it gave me an opportunity to take part in the inner collaborative experience that is WordCamp and really is WordPress in general. Not everybody that goes to WordCamp writes code. There were developers, there were content creators, marketers, and project managers. And the ecosystem of WordPress and even the WordCamp conference thrives based off of that collection of people. But WordCamp itself was a bit slower paced than other conferences that I'm used to. I'm used to marketing and SEO related conferences where there's a ton of content packed into a small period of time. Everybody is extremely fast paced, and while you're there, you're drinking from the fire hose. WordCamp was much slower, which perhaps gave it a more deliberate pace and a lot more opportunity for interaction. I don't know if it was intentional, but I did notice that through a lot of the talks, there wasn't as much sharing of specific strategies as I was used to at these marketing and SEO conferences. And perhaps that's because things don't move quite as fast in the realm of WordPress and development as it does in SEO and marketing. So looking forward, I have some thoughts on what I would hope to see from future WordCamps. First of all is that I think the conference would benefit a little bit from more clearly defined tracks for people interested in certain things. For example, developers track that is very geared towards people who are developing plugins and resources and things for WordPress. Perhaps one for agencies like myself who are using WordPress as a solution, utilize the tools that those developers are working on. And then maybe there's a third track or something on another topic. But I think it would help clear up a little bit of confusion and misunderstanding of what specific talks were actually going to be about. Having more talks that are geared towards agencies, I think would draw in an underserved part of the community that doesn't get involved because there isn't necessarily a way for them to fit in. They are on the consuming end of WordPress, which is a part of it. WordPress is open source, which means it's free. There's a lot of tools and plugins and things that are part of the marketplace, which are not necessarily free. But it takes the developing side of things where people are thinking about how to make all this work. And it takes the other side where we're on the consuming end, the agency end. And without one thriving, the other won't thrive as well. So both sides need to thrive. And I think there's a lot of room and potential promise for the future of WordCamp to bring these communities together. Ultimately, attending WordCamp reinforced my conviction that WordPress remains one of the best platforms for small businesses and nonprofits. While there are countless hosted solutions out there, actually owning your website, having complete control without platform fees cannot be overstated. The conference certainly demonstrated that WordPress isn't just keeping pace with technological change, it's thoughtfully working on things like integrating with AI while maintaining its core values of accessibility, ownership, and community. So I know I'll be attending WordCamp next year. I really hope that if you're watching this and you utilize WordPress either as a developer or as an agency, that you would consider attending WordCamp next year. I think it's a great collection of people and a great opportunity to get together with others who want to see WordPress continue to thrive in a world where everything is getting productized and packaged for a cost. It takes community to keep something like WordPress alive, and WordCamp is that yearly gathering of the people that are invested and interested in doing so. Well, that's going to do it for my recap of WordCamp US 2025 in Portland. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you back in another one soon. Take care.